I think people like watching on social media, like people do things like, here's how I meditate, here's how I build a sink with a spoon, or here's how I like.
Here's how I stopped hair loss with peppermint oil.
A long time ago, it was pretty big to watch like pickup artists on YouTube. Like,
dude, yes, it started, I think, before YouTube. I think it started on VH1.
Oh, really? It was like on actual TV.
It was on it made it to TV.
Yeah.
Do you remember the book The Game?
I never read it, but I know it looked like a Bible, basically.
It looked like that,
Bible.
and it was a secret society of pickup artists. It was written by, gosh, what's that guy's name? Neil
deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, it was written by Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Dude, if he wrote
before he was a scientist,
artist thing.
Yeah, he's actually funny.
Yeah. Well, that's why he's famous. He's like the Einstein, because apparently Einstein was part of a big group of scientists, and he was the dumbest one.
Really?
But he was the most personable, kind of cool.
Yeah.
So he was the guy they pushed all the research through.
Yeah.
So there's even kind of like, that Hollywood garbage in those circles.
Totally. So let me see what this guy's name is, because I follow him on social media, but he wrote this book and he ended up going to rehab for sex addiction.
In the end or in the beginning?
Neil Strauss. Okay,
kind of sounds like Einstein.
Yeah, totally. He does. He's a smart guy, but he completely renounces it. Like he's
really?
It's terrible. Yeah, like he basically was like, this is miserable, and he talks about like the people who got addicted to alcohol, they lost themselves, they didn't know who they were strung out, some of them tried to kill themselves. Like,
whoa,
it was
trying to pick up girls.
Well, because you have to think of it, it's most of these guys get into it because I talked about it. I got into it because I wanted to up my confidence.
Right.
So most of these guys get into it but in a weird way, you kind of become more insecure because your confidence is not in yourself. Your confidence is in conquering, or like you need the female validation.
Right.
And if you need that, you're basically a vampire, and you're feeding off of people's energy. Right. You're an emotional vampire, and that's not going to help you.
So did you actually read the book, The Game?
So I read it before I got into a really serious relationship, implemented some of the advice, and then I got into a relationship, and then forgot all about the info years later, and then kind of like remembered what I read and went out in the world and did it. But like, did you ever watch those shows on VH1?
No, I didn't watch the shows, but I watched some YouTube clips where it was like a guy like approaching a group of women and doing all the stuff kind of against the rules, where like he just goes, talks to them right away. He's like, approach them like Jesus with your hands out like this.
He
like
actually said that?
Yeah. Like have that type of demeanor, like you're not hiding anything. It was interesting, and they very extroverted. Like the guy was clearly like kind of maybe drunk, and
yeah,
and just talking a lot, and really all it was, honestly, I mean, from this one clip I saw, I didn't get into it, but it just seemed like just be extroverted, energetic, and kind of very like you're not trying to sleep with them right away. It's kind of
you're not. You don't have this desperate energy.
Yeah.
What's interesting too is like, because it's not really a thing anymore. Like there's people who approach women and stuff, but there's pickup artists.
I don't think. How would that go with where we are now with the whole like, or more progressive, or the post Me Too? Like, how does that go with the pickup artists? Because
I still think men should approach women.
Yeah,
grocery stores and all that stuff. I don't think that's a skeezy thing in and of itself. I think that men should approach women, but like what I don't think is like these weird tactics and stuff. So like these guys, they were in the early 2000s. There was this guy who's like, you need to do this thing called peacocking, and he talked about how like peacocks, whenever they'd approach like the female. Peacock? Is that what it is, I guess?
I don't know.
Or turkeys. It's called peacocking, where you show you like your bright feathers. So this guy would like have like a gigantic top hat like Abraham Lincoln with like colorful feathers sticking out of it. And he'd be wearing like a ton of rings and doing like magic tricks for women in bars. And girls were like, wow, he's like so cool. Because it's like you become the most dominant one when you go in. Right, and I'm like
alpha male.
Even when I read that though, I was like, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
I'm not going to, like, I don't want to change my whole personality for women.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it was like around when guys would wear like designer jeans and stuff, and it just kind of like died out with like Lucky jeans.
Well, you know what would have happened if they had the game and the pickup artists now? They would be like so many of them, like they'd be like the main guy Strauss, and then there would be like 19 of them that are like, well, I'm not Strauss, but I can do this, and there'd be like so many
Yeah.
pickup artist gurus that people would follow and just emulate.
Well, that's kind of what the game was all these
Okay.
all these pickup artists had developed like different things, and they all went off to, different like groups and stuff and started stuff.
Right.
I actually knew a girl who was co-writing a book. This was years ago, but like with one of those guys. And she told me, I was like, so what is he like? And she's like, he's awkward. He's really, really awkward. He's very uncomfortable. I'm like, does he actually get women? She's like, I think so. But like when I'm writing, so it almost seems like they're good at putting on a face.
Yes.
But then when it's like one-on-one and you're like really just connecting with another person, I don't think a lot of those guys can do that.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I don't
Because
know.
most people, it's like the opposite. They could connect one-on-one in private, but they're not good at making the grand, I don't know, entrance or the,
Yeah. Shooting
the
cards
first,
out of their sleeve.
yeah.
Like David Blaine.
Basically.
Well, I think the thing that sort of replaced it is dating coaches. These YouTube ads to where it's like, if you want to be able to get any woman that you want, to where it's like a joke to me.
I think it just comes off as phony.
It's phony. But we know people.
for entertainment purposes, sure. But then in the end, I was like, okay. And then when the woman decides to date you and you just got to be yourself and normal.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Like, I think they need advice for that as the follow-up, right? I'm assuming.
Totally.
But was pickup artists just basically pick up a girl, have sex with her, move on to the next girl, have sex, or was it?
It's mostly that.
It was most. So it wasn't really for any type of relationship or getting married or.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really remember the book, but it was basically like pickup lines, like how to make yourself different. And
what were some of the lines? Do you remember?
there was one that was I never used the lines. I took the psychology of it, like, okay, just approach a bunch of women and don't care
game.
if they like you or not.
Right.
That's the only thing that I really took from it. And like, don't like be clingy.
Like auditioning.
Yeah, like auditioning.
Basically,
It's basically auditioning. Like you're like, okay, I don't care if I book this job or not.
Yeah.
But the thing was like, what was it? It was my friend, he's like in his 20s and he sleeps with a teddy bear. Is that weird? Like just going up to a girl and saying that, and it's like, and then like some of these guys would be like, "Trust me, it works." But I guess so many guys started using that line,
right? And now
that like they'd be like, "Hey, is it weird that my friend sleeps with a teddy bear?" Girls are like, "Heard that."
Oh damn! And that must be so weird for them.
It must be so weird, and like so awkward.
Yeah.
But I mean, I honestly hate all that stuff. All that stuff's like makes me cringe now.
Yeah.
But it's
that
like,
was what era was that? That's like 2007. 2009, around then, right?
I think it was even before that, dude. I think it was like 2006. Yeah, 2007.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, dude? I feel like Orange County is like still.
It's probably still, or Simi Valley.
It's like 2007 there. There's like guys that are still wearing like polo shirts and listen to Alien Ant Farm.
Tap Out.
And that book is probably, they're probably just finding out about it now.
Mm-hmm. And did that guy, didn't they get a movie, or was the book, I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell?
Oh, yeah, that was Max Tucker.
Was that also a pickup artist type of thing?
I never read that.
Okay.
I never read that. I never got into it.
Okay.
Because when that came out, I remember there was like bros whenever I was in college that liked
I
it. And I was not a bro in college.
Right.
I still don't think I am one.
Mm-hmm.
But
you're working on it.
I'm working on trying to be a bro. It's like turning into a Power Rangers when they turn into like they morph into their suits. I'm trying to one thing at a time.
So you didn't do much from the pickup artist point of view from the book.
No. I just took it as like, okay, you have to just throw darts, which I honestly think if you're single, I don't think it's a good idea to go around trying to sleep with a ton of women. I think that's a horrible idea. But I think that like approaching a lot of girls, if you're attracted to someone and just carrying on a conversation and getting good at that is important for dudes.
So what happened to the guy? So he ended up renouncing. He says, guys, don't use this.
Yeah.
It's not good because
basically
he had sex addiction.
He had that, and he just kind of basically, I didn't read his follow-up book, but he wrote a follow-up book, and his story's pretty crazy. So he was, he's an editor for a lot of really huge books. Like he writes a lot of really famous people's books. He's the guy that people consult. So Marilyn Manson, he wrote his book with him. He wrote Motley Crue's The Dirt. He basically, so he was like that guy, but he talked about how he never really could meet women, even at that rate.
So it was
And he
all
was-
kind of phony. So it didn't even work for him as much as it worked for
No,
other
it did
people?
later, but he was like the reason why he got into this, the reason why he got into pickup artistry was because he was like a 5'4" bald guy.
Wow.
And just could never, like, he saw these rock stars, they'd always like have girlfriends and stuff. He could never get a girlfriend. So basically in the book, he talks about how he met these guys who were pickup artists, and they basically broke him down and trained him up on how to talk to women. So he became this like masterful
Wow.
guy with getting women, but then it like completely more like made his brain crazy, and to where he had to go to like rehab and stuff. Now he only writes kind of about, like, he writes about completely opposite stuff, like purpose and meaning and all these kinds of things, because he saw how empty I think that road was. But you know, he did that, and he married some girl. They got a divorce, and everything kind of just spun out, and it didn't really do what he thought it was going to do.
And
You know,
what were do you know what the reaction was from the women, like in the world? Like, was there backlash against pickup artists, or was that too early before the
I think
internet?
it was too early, dude. I think
Yeah.
it was too early because it was like there was the internet, but like we weren't in this
It wasn't
outrage.
like now where like we're looking to we're
Well,
looking for the backlash all the time.
It's weird because no matter how I hear women say all the time, I can't remember who this was. This was in LA. This was recently. This was a handful of girls, and I was like, what? Because I was with my girlfriend, and then there was like, I can't remember where we were. We were somewhere, but there were other girls there, and I was like, what do you think about like a male feminist? Every single girl was like, I hate it.
Right, yeah. It's unattractive.
It's unattractive. So even though there was this weird like backlash, women still want guys to approach them. They don't
course.
want like these
Well,
guys that are woke and all this
I saw
stuff. Like
something.
they hate
well,
that.
I guess they don't really mind if you're like of a progressive political nature, but there is still a thing. Like, I saw something where it was like the thing was, women, you go pick up the men. You go.
No,
do
they
it.
don't want to do that.
But yeah, they told the said that it was so hard. I just didn't know what to say. I did, you know. I was like, I can't. It's just not. It's not in their nature, you know. It's in our nature. It's not even in my personal nature that much either. I'm not.
I
good
mean,
at
it is.
but-
You just nobody's naturally good at it.
you know.
But we kind of
no,
have
some
to
guys,
force,
black
you know what I
guys,
mean?
amazing at it. Most of
Like-
the black guys I know could do it, no problem. I not so much. you know?
But that's because those dudes worked at it. Like my point is like you get amazing at it by doing it.
right.
It's like going
like anything else.
It's like anything else because it's like it's so easy to talk to women if you just do it a lot,
Yeah.
you know? And so that's
I mean, I
like
could talk to women, but it's like to talk to somebody for the right away out the gate trying to pick them up is like is
Nerve-wracking.
something- Yeah. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like I even have trouble networking. They go like, you should really go out and network.
I
with
have a hard
people.
time with that.
I go to me, that's like, so what?
Yeah.
I should just meet somebody who's more important than me and say, hey, can you help me? You know, that's what it kind of feels like.
But
know?
you know what it is you have the awareness. It's like you almost have too much awareness. There's this. Have you heard of Stephen Pressfield?
No.
So he wrote this book called The War of Art.
Oh yeah. I've heard
Not
of
The
book.
Art of War by Leo Sun Tzu, but The War of Art. But he's like, it was either in that or one of his other books. But he goes, what is Steve Jobs, Winston Churchill, and he says one other person, I can't remember who. He goes, all have in common. He goes, they were all stupid.
Right.
And he goes, because anybody who knew the task that they set out before themselves, how impossible it would be to achieve it, would have to be like stupid.
Right.
So he's like, stay stupid. That was kind of his thing. So it's like,
Interesting.
because a lot of times the people that we see who go up the fastest in comedy, they don't necessarily have a lot of awareness.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have, and so that doesn't lend itself to being a good
And they
comedian.
even sometimes, not everybody, but I do see people that are successful and they have a little bit of that entitlement where you just don't know any better. You know?
Yeah, you don't know any better. And the thing
You're
is,
like, well,
is
why
like,
wouldn't it be me? Because they're not aware that like how many amazing people there are that don't get what they want. You know?
And the thing is, too, is that doesn't lend itself to being a good comedian.
Not
Because
at
to be
all,
a
yeah.
good comedian, you have to have awareness.
Mm-hmm.
But to be good at networking, you kind of have to shut off. I think sometimes, too, the other thing is we think like awareness is self-consciousness, and they're not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think awareness is knowing how you make people feel. Self-consciousness is like being too aware of like what's going on. You know what I mean? Like your hands, and you're like, oh, this person's going to think I'm weird if I
Right.
go up to them and then I ask them for something,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
So So now the modern day pickup artist is what? Andrew Tate? Is that kind of it?
I would say yeah. It's like dating coaches.
I feel like also dating, like online dating, probably killed pickup artistry,
but
right?
you still have to like. There's like these things
Because the pickup is just kind of done online. Like
it's done online. It's done through texting and stuff. But the thing is like
they should make a pickup artist for that now. Like, how do you get somebody on Grindr
like that?
or whatever it is? Not
Tinder.
Tinder, yeah.
Grindr's the gay one.
Yeah,
you don't have to have game for that.
yeah, you just have to be gay.
You could, you could literally have like a bowl cut, but if you have like a 6-pack, you know what I mean?
Like
there'd be like a dude that's like, okay, that's fine, that's enough for me.
I'm sure there is something out there for like the online.
Well, it's the same thing. Like when you're doing that in the world, like you text over and over, you just naturally get good at. Like I feel like I'm a really good texter.
Wow. Okay.
But like I wasn't at first though.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't use these. I'm in a relationship. You know what I mean? But
now
like,
it's done.
I think though that like, I think that it's just one of those things. Like the thing from pickup artists that I think everybody can implement is don't be clingy.
Yeah.
And don't come with that, are you my girlfriend / wife energy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's literally just like, I don't care if you like me or not. Like, it's like low stakes. And if you have that energy, and
I kind of
aware,
find that could be applied to anything. I don't
that's
think
exactly what I was
that's
thinking.
also applied to jobs.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, people are more apt to give something to someone who doesn't want or need it.
Yeah, it's because people are naturally there's leaders, there's leaders and there's followers, and like everybody, most people are followers.
Yeah,
and the people who are followers are looking for a leader. So if a leader, even if you don't know where you're going, but you act like you know where you're going, you're like, this is what we're doing, we're gonna do this and that. There's people that are naturally
like, all right,
and through a relationship, the dynamic is like most women want the guy to lead.
Yes.
That's an innate. You could even say that's just at a cellular level. Like, and I don't mean dominate, like in terms of like you stay home unless I tell you not to. But they want them to lead.
There's also a bit of a paradox in being a leader, because to be a leader, you're also the most vulnerable.
Yeah,
you're not even protected. I know a lot of guys who they actually put a lot on the woman in their pickup. It's like, well, you know, I didn't like. They're very vague about making it clear that they like her, and then they're they're trying to wait for her to do the next thing. I was like, dude, you're the one trying to pick her up. I go, but you're too scared to be vulnerable and make it known, like, hey, I like you. Would you like to go out? So you're like, well, she didn't do the thing, so it didn't happen. I was like, yeah, because you're not a leader. You're not attractive. You're not taking the chance, you know?
Yeah, you have to like decide, like, I think it's like small things, like where we sit, where we're going to go get a drink. Yeah. Like these kinds of things you decide.
The irony is, like, to be the leader, you have to be willing to be told no. And then that's it. You're not
totally.
You have to be putting your leadership on the line.
I think one thing that I always never did was I never told a girl I liked her. I'd always let her say that first.
Okay.
I would never ever do that. And then like I would always try to. But I feel like if you ask a girl, hey, we should go get a drink sometime. Yeah. Every girl knows what that means. Be like, oh, he's into me. But like if you say too much, like I'm into you, because like women want to feel like they caught something that's like hard to catch.
Yeah.
And so it's like if you're just like, it's like fishing. But if the fish just jump in the boat, then you're like,
women are like that, but I think guys are like that too.
Everyone is.
Everyone is kind of, and that's what's hard about it is like.
But I think women are more.
Right.
I think, probably especially when it comes to
because women,
too.
I guess, because men are out there trying to bang everything. So women's like, well, this is another, like, how do I know that he's just not trying to bang you know what I mean? Like, how do I feel kind of special or unique in this situation, you know?
And it's like they want a guy who doesn't like, it's like they want a guy who they almost feel like they tricked him into being in a relationship. Like that the guy like he didn't come quietly into the night. Like he didn't jump in the boat. Like they had to like pull him, and then it's like, oh yeah, I got it. Just like how we appreciate our careers more whenever we have something to climb. I think women appreciate a relationship more when they had a challenge,
right?
To like break through, because then it's like if it's just a guy, like women. When I was like in college, and I would like a girl, I'd buy her flowers, and I had no idea what I was doing. Yeah. And I would like scare them off every single time, because I would get advice from my sister When women give the most horrible advice
So
about women.
Yeah, so a
You
woman
never
could
ask another
not write a
woman.
pickup artist book.
No, women
Right.
don't know how to give you advice on how to talk to women. Every
Mhm.
girl who I ever asked advice from on what to do with women steered me. Like, I don't know if they were trying to send me on a suicide mission,
Right.
or if it was like, there's this thing of, oh, this is what I'm supposed to like, but what I really like is this.
Yeah.
You know? And so I've never bought my girlfriend flowers. I buy her something for her birthday.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like all that stuff, like, I don't know, because it's different when you're in a relationship.
It depends on
but-
because like my wife now, one of
Yeah.
the first things I gave her is I made her a sandwich.
That's good.
And I brought it to her job, and I gave it to her for lunch. I made her a sandwich. I wrapped it up in aluminum foil, and I put a few hearts on it.
I love
gave
it.
and I gave her a sandwich at
But-
lunch.
You know what though? You're not I mean, you say you've changed a lot, so I don't know, but you're not like you don't come off as a needy person.
Right? No, not at all.
And so there's kind of this thing like to where like anytime a girl's like, he's nice, what they're really saying is, I don't know how to tell him I don't like him, and I know it's gonna crush him. That's what
Right.
they're really saying, because like a lot of times like you see like I see some dudes online that are like, man, I don't know what it is about women. I'm not doing good on online dating, and I just like want someone to be close with. And then I'm like, dude, everything you're doing is the antithesis of what
Right.
any girl, you can find the sweetest church girl on the planet.
Mhm.
That is such a turn off what you're doing right now. Like the best thing is just to be as okay as you can. None of us are fully complete,
Yeah.
but like to be as complete as you can be. And
But
then
I think
you're
there's
like,
paradox in there too, because
know.
I am really not. I've never been needy in relationships.
Uh-huh.
I think it's because I feel very fulfilled elsewhere. I have a lot of friends.
Yes.
I have a good professional life. You know, like I don't have all my eggs in that basket, which has been attractive to every partner I've been with. But then I was in another relationship for a long time, and they hated that I would never get jealous. Almost like they would try to make me jealous, and I wouldn't get jealous. And then it was weird. That became a problem in our relationship. They hated that I wouldn't get jealous. It made them think that I didn't like them enough.
you know what it is? It's like, I mean, there's always like, this is the way it is, and then there's that anomaly.
Yeah.
So part of it's like everybody's different, but I also think like the other part too is like women kind of want to see like your teeth a little bit. Like, is he gonna
Right.
protect me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like to where it's like they almost want to know like that you have a inner psychopath, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want you to go psycho on them, and they don't even really want to see you go psycho.
Yeah.
But they want to know like there's like something. Like my girlfriend and I had a huge fight one time because like she saw me be psycho because somebody cut me off in traffic, and I was
you
like,
freaked out about
I
it.
freaked
You
out.
followed them.
I was like, yeah, and I started like following them, and I like was taking off my seatbelt, like I almost got out of the car, and she like
Whoa.
she
Yeah,
stopped
yeah.
talking to me for like 24 hours, maybe 36 hours. I can't remember what it was.
Wow, that's a long time.
She was
She's probably disturbed a little bit.
she was very disturbed because I think she was questioning like, is there a warning sign in this relationship that he could be like abusive? Or
But that's a
something?
normal
You know what I
thing
mean?
because another friend
Like-
of mine, you know, his wife left him, and I was like, and he's like you. He doesn't have an aggressive demeanor at all. You wouldn't know that. He's like,
no.
yeah, I go, sometimes you get annoyed, like when we were driving in traffic and somebody does something and I freak out and get angry. I was like, so that's a normal thing. I don't think
Yeah.
people like people freaking out in traffic.
They
Yeah.
don't, and you know what it is? It's better to just have like, don't mess with me energy. But like the reason why, here's the thing. I hate that tough guy thing to where a lot of guys, you know, who they just have that. It's like, yeah, dude, I'm just gonna go out with the girl, and I'm like, you like her, and it's like, oh, we're just hanging out, we're just having fun. But they always have this stoic.
But that's another paradox thing.
There's
It's like,
another stoic.
I was like, they're trying to be strong, but you're not strong
They're
enough
trying to
to
be strong.
admit that you like the person. Like you're kind of weak at the same
You're
time.
weak, yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing is like that will still work in a dating framework because it's better to be that than it is to be like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like no girl is ever. The weird paradox was I was horrible with women. Then I started dating a lot and doing that pickup artist stuff. Got really good with women, but did not want to be in a relationship with any
Right.
women, and that would make women like me. Now, fast forward to after I healed, And I stopped doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I met my girlfriend, and then all of a sudden all these insecurities came up.
Yeah.
All this stuff to where like, does she like me? Because like at first, like when we first met, like the first 3 months, I was like telling her, I was like, I don't really want a relationship. And so she kept pushing, and then I was like, you know what? Why don't I just try this? And to where as soon as I got in a relationship, it was like the stuff came up that I didn't
Wow.
even know was there, that I thought that I was like completely over, to where I'm like, and then my own old pickup artist brain was like, don't be a pussy, don't be a chump, don't be this.
It was
But
creeping
like,
in.
but it was like literally all the stuff from like my last relationship that I thought had gone away, of being cheated on, all this stuff, that was still there. And it was like weird to where like, I know you're supposed to show confidence with a woman, but I started asking things like, do you like me? Are you sure you like me?
Yeah.
And it was like, you never do that.
No.
But, and I knew all the rules. I had completely quit doing that when I was dating. When I was dating, I didn't care if a girl ever called me again. I didn't care if she liked me. I never would initiate a second date. I just didn't care. And they would always be like, hey, when am I gonna see you again? Blah, blah, blah. But then when I got in a relationship, it flipped. And then I almost had to like fight that nature of like feeling in like insecure, you know? So
were there ever like any support groups for people that were pickup artists?
Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous.
Okay.
I mean, which is a 12
Or
step.
were there groups like there are groups for like Tony Robbins, or like
I'm sure there's got to be, dude, because it's just, you know what it is? All it is just insecurity. You become. There's a guy who one time said something that it is Daryl Lamontre. Do you remember him?
No.
He's a comedian, but he said all shy people are insecure, but not all insecure people are shy. Which I think is really good.
Yeah.
Because we were talking about Michael Jordan, how he gambles, and like he was like, I forget what the story is. I'm probably butchering it. I don't want to make up stuff, but I think he was gambling with an old lady, and he was getting like mad because he can't lose. And then he was just talking about how insecure Michael Jordan is. And it's weird to think of Michael Jordan as insecure. But then he goes, not all shy people are insecure, but not all insecure people are shy. So you can be insecure and be very bravado based, but that could be insecurity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it comes in a lot of different forms. So you can get rid of the shyness, but still not deal with the insecurity.
I wonder if any
To
of the
where that's-
pickup artist thing ever resulted in like a murder or a sexual assault.
I'm sure. Because like,
Yeah.
you imagine the numbness of having sex with
Right.
new partners over and over and over again.
Sounds terrible.
There's something about you that just starts to devalue people though.
Right. Like
Because
a
you start to
sociopath.
devalue yourself, and you're just like, oh, this is easy. So like, who knows? Like if somebody's like slightly unkilt,
Yeah.
and then all these women are rewarding them, I think some of those guys definitely probably be like,
Yeah.
why aren't you doing this? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then it resulted in like probably like them killing someone or something, you know?
What do you think the pros were for you? Like there must now we've basically covered the cons, but what do you think? Are you happy you went down that route at all? Read
Yeah,
the
totally.
book? Yeah.
Totally. I'm not happy with all the stuff that came with it and everything, but like, because I know that that's not the answer, number one. And number two, I got over one of the biggest fears that plagued me from childhood, which was the fear of approaching women. And then now it's just like not even a big deal.
Right.
To where I know, once you figure that part of your life out, you'll never be lonely. Even if you're 75, like once you know how to talk, like
Yeah.
you'll never be lonely. You'll never have to be alone
Yeah.
because you kind of figured out like how this whole system works. That would be like the pros, you know? Because there's a lot of dudes who are good dudes, but they end up single forever.
Yes.
Because they don't, and you can be super handsome or you can be really ugly and get women. Like it really has nothing. It has everything to do with like your energy. I think like your energy is like the main thing.
Yeah. So do
You
you
know?
think all of that is even applicable today, where like people walk around, they're wearing headphones, they're wearing masks, they're on the apps, like it's a different time and to use these tactics, right?
I think it's like, it goes back to like the energy though. You know what I mean? Like with which you like come on something. And there's always going to be like women who are like, I mean, I'm 5'6". There's always going to be women who are
Right.
like, you know what I mean? Because they want like
Yeah.
a dude who's 6'1" or whatever. Like, but most of the time, you can overcome a lot of those things with just your personality.
Yeah.
And so like the thing that you learn from that is like you said, you take these things with you everywhere in life.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
basically, yeah.
Like the more
same
you can
skill
be
would be
detached.
applied to trying to get a job or
Yeah.
dealing with conflicts with
Yeah.
any interpersonal relationship.
If you can not be in need, and dude, believe it or not, I mean, at least from the outward, you're one of the people I think is like the best at that. You don't
Right.
ever seem to be in need.
Right.
And I don't know if that's.
I'm sure some of that's a front, not a front, but I'm sure
just-
some of that is just like, I've learned to hide anything that resembles nervous energy.
Yeah, because you don't have that at all.
Yeah.
I think that out of everybody that I know, you probably have that the least.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes people want to be friends with you
Right.
because
Well, it makes
You don't-
people. I end up attracting a lot of people with mental health issues. I'm dead serious. I was like, oh, another one with this, like, and
In what way does that come off? Or like, we should go get lunch tomorrow.
kind of. Well, it doesn't come up right away. It comes up a little bit later when somebody, for whatever reason, reaches out to me, wants to be a friend, asks for advice, and then I become friends with the person. Then I find out they have, some personality disorder that
Yeah.
somebody. I was like, oh, and now I'm dealing with the negative effects of that.
So do they, with that personality disorder, do they get like attached to you?
Very
like they
much, yeah. And then I
Yeah.
end up dealing with somebody who I just met 2 years ago, who I'm like their best friend in the world.
Yeah,
and
dude,
it's-
I draw
know.
those types of people in too, and it's
Yeah.
like sucks because it's like I really want to help people and be there for
Yeah.
people, but it's like they make a savior out of you.
Yeah, I want to help them less now. And the older I
Yeah.
get, I was like, oh, dude, I'm married, I'm old, I'm gonna be dead soon. I can't. I
My
can't-
girlfriend has been
you
like that
know.
too. Like, there's been people who are like mentally ill that like
Mhm.
like constantly like they will be like, hey, can I come by or can I
Dude, people have asked me to stay at my house.
the
Like,
night?
can I stay there for a couple of weeks? I go, I just met you. at
I've
the
never had
comedy store.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's
strangers that I've
crazy.
met before.
Are they usually comics?
No. I mean, there's that. I mean, almost. I mean, comic and mental illness is very like.
It's very synonymous. It's on the
No, just
yeah.
regular civilian people. I attract those types. And
Uh-huh.
even I've had exes or I've had relationships where like it's a woman with severe trust issues from a trauma they went through with their father when they were young. Like I attract a lot of that. And I've worked on, because of that, I had to work on boundaries because it's like, well, I can't be your father,
Yeah, of telling people no, for
Yes,
sure.
and then
I
I'm
used to have a
getting-
hard time with that
and
too.
I'm getting it, and then and the longer you don't say no, you're just enabling shitty behavior to a point where like something is going to happen, and you have a big fallout in the end anyway, and you're dealing with somebody who's not in their right mind, and yeah, it's just kind of it's another
Yeah, it's
paradox. The
unfortunate.
cooler you are with your like, the easier you teach yourself to be in life, then you're also going to attract people who want a bit of that, Whereas
Yeah.
if you're a neurotic person kind of outwardly, they're not going to be attracted to you, but then you have your own neurosis to deal with. So I think
yeah,
you get whatever yin yang package you get. I don't think there's any secret like, yeah, I was just on vacation my whole life. There was always
Yeah, dude. Do people? I get asked for advice a lot. Do people
Yes.
ask you for advice a lot?
very much, and I always just glance like, I'll give you advice, but I'm not the guy whose life you want in terms of the accomplishments that you're trying to get.
Sometimes it's so easy to give like stellar advice, and it's like, why don't I know what to do? But
Yeah.
you're detached from somebody else, so you can like say this is what you should
but you
do.
can see like, oh, stop doing, because you see it from the outside, like, hey, stop doing this bad thing and do. It comes with the dating. I see a lot of like guys, and I wasn't, a great dating person picking up. I wasn't great at that, but I know. People are just very afraid to be vulnerable. People have a lot of people. There's a lot of shame, and people have a lot of ego, so they're always putting it on the other person. It was like, well, I'll see what they say. I go, why don't you just say what you feel and what you want? And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Instead of just prolonging this thing,
Yeah,
for
and
a bigger disappointment later.
and the more vulnerable, going back to the pickup artist thing, the more vulnerable you can be, the happier you're gonna be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just you're gonna feel more free and less like tension inside of you because you're actually able to kind of just be honest. That's why doing a one-man show felt so good because you could be vulnerable and you can be funny.
Yeah.
You know, with comedy, there's only so vulnerable you can be. People are always like, be vulnerable in your
that's
comedy.
another paradox. And I only find paradox in life, but the paradox of comedy is that it's kind of 100% vulnerable because you're at the mercy, even though you're the performer, you're kind of at the mercy of the audience. If they don't want to laugh at you, you failed.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're doing a play, one-man show, you know, acting in a movie, it's kind of like whether they like you or not is not really, you're still kind of in control. You kind of have it.
I don't know. I mean, I felt the one-man show is like, I still felt the pressure of like, okay, I got to get laughs.
Well, but that's because you're a comic and you and you purposely made it a comedic. But if it was a dramatic one-man show, where that's really not the point of it at all, and you weren't a comic, you're just an actor doing a one-man show, you wouldn't have felt that pressure. You wouldn't have felt that vulnerability.
It's at the end it turns into a drama, but it's like I felt less pressure on the drama because a lot of times if a comedian like knows how to act, a lot of times they're good actors because comedy's already kind of like a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is just peel that away and you're like, oh, there's a lot of sadness right there.
Yeah.
You know?
People love it when you're sad.
It's crazy because they love, people will like, I did that dramatic short. People are like, dude, you can really act. And I'm like, why don't you do that with my comedy? Like you can really, people are always more impressed with somebody who gives a dramatic performance
yes, of course,
than a comedic performance.
Yeah.
Jim Carrey, some of the best comedies of all time, but it's like as soon as he did Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, people were like blown away.
Yeah.
So, you know, be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I guess is the message. So would you ever do pickup artistry?
At this point, no, I don't think so.
Yeah. What if you're doing it?
I wouldn't know where to begin. Crisis. I wouldn't know where to begin.
Yeah.
I honestly, sometimes I'll go to a bar with a friend or even with my wife and her friends, and I'll see people, 10, 15 years younger than me. I was like, man, I would not even know how to start doing that, because a lot of it is just so phony. And now I've gotten so used to just always saying how I feel, just being myself, and there's no bigger turnoff than that. You know what I mean?
Not really. Sometimes that can be...
Sometimes in the right situation, but not really in a bar with loud music and everybody's dolled up and you know what I mean? Not there, Did
you see Vicky Cristina Barcelona, that Woody Allen movie, Me, Vicky Cristina Barcelona or whatever? It was Javier Bardem, and I think it was Penelope Cruz and Scarlett Johansson, I can't remember. But he just like approaches them at a restaurant and is like, why don't you get on the plane with me and fly to Spain? Yeah. And like I
would go with that guy for sure.
Of course. I mean,
he might also like kill you.
He might. I mean, he did in, No Country for Old Men.
Right.
You thought I was going to say in that movie.
Right, yeah. So I was like, I got to watch it now.
He killed them. No, he did in No Country for Old Men. Remember that stupid bowl cut?
I didn't see No Country for Old Men.
You didn't see No Country for Old Men?
No.
Dude, that movie's great.
I was getting confused with There Will Be Blood. I did see There Will Be Blood. But
yeah, this is a Coen Brothers movie. It's really good. Yeah. You should watch
Who's There Will Be Blood? Who made that?
It was Daniel Day-Lewis that was in it, but it was Paul Thomas Anderson.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So do you have any parting advice on just vulnerability? Because I'm learning a lot from hearing you talk.
There's always going to be a paradox. Vulnerability is honestly strength. If you're willing, that you have to find the strength to be vulnerable, because you're basically risking failure, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Because delaying failure is just you're failing for a longer time.
Bingo. That is the button on the end of an episode.